Hey, welcome to Roaming Minds. I'm Carlos.
I'm AJ, and here we talk about the thoughts that kept us out of all the really good schools. You know, those quiet spirals, the questions that keep you up at night, and the trials and tribulations that we all face as human beings.
This show is part reflection, part reminder. We're not broken, we're on a journey of growth. Please note that this conversation should not be taken as medical or professional advice. See the link in the description below if you require immediate help.
Every week, we unpack what it means to choose joy. Not the loud version that Karen is peddling, but the quiet, hard-earned kind that comes from finally feeling like yourself again.
Let's keep this conversation going. Join us on Discord or connect to a peer through Kindred. Let's get into it.
Over the past few episodes, we've talked a lot about data and the mystical data and what does that mean and what does that look like and it's hard to be concerned about data practices when you have very little tangible things to kind of grasp on. You're just like, oh yeah, data. What's that? Not
And,
what's
and
that
also,
because
not even tangible, but an understanding of what data is. Because I think we all, I don't want to assume what everybody knows, but there's some general consensus of like what people think their data is and like what it's done with. But like, I don't think people truly understand the full like understanding of it unless like you specifically work, I don't know, like in data privacy, like litigation, or you work in creating those type of things. Like people have it's that thing of like people have some idea, but they don't understand the full concept of it.
Target at one point in time, this father got super pissed because they were sending his daughter coupons for pregnancy materials. And he had no idea that she was pregnant. Because it was so new. You're talking within a month, they had already started sending out these things. And so, not the coupons and
But
things
yeah,
like that. Because based off of the purchases that she had been making, they assumed that she was pregnant and could use the coupons for it. That is what I mean when we talk about data. Buying purchases can directly influence what you are going to buy next. And they've done this because they have computers that can run these models and simulate. I think it is alarming what a company can tell just based off of your buying habits.
yes, not even buying habits, search habits. You don't even need to buy
Mm-hmm.
it. Like you just need to have looked it up.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really big deal. It was funny. I had a professor in undergrad who told this story. He was like, "Yeah, somebody picked up my credit card in Arizona." Now he was flying all over and frequented Arizona, so it wasn't that crazy when the credit card flagged a purchase, but not because he was in Arizona, but because the person had went to Krispy Kreme, and they were like, based off of your purchase habits, you would not be somebody who frequents Krispy Kreme. Okay? And so these are kind of harmless. The if anything, the at least the Krispy Kreme example is kind of a benefit.
Yeah.
The coupons, I guess it could
Well,
argue
we
either way.
don't know what really happened, but it could go, if the father
Right.
got mad and then, then be his daughter. There are different directions where that could go.
Right. But the problem is yes, there are some good things to come out of it, but there's also the flip side. And that's really what we're going to kind of focus on today, and talk about more of some of those smartphone usages that go ahead and influence, mm, maybe not influence, but that they can use to tell what's going on with your mental health and mental well-being. Why is that such a big deal? Well, okay. Uh, People in the younger age groups tend to average about 4+ hours of screen time daily. Okay. Teenagers are over 4 hours a day. And I could only imagine what those numbers are for somebody 18 to 25, especially if their work requires to use a computer. Um, I can't even tell you how many hours I spend in front of a screen. I just work. We're not talking about doing anything entertainment wise. It is just working most of the time. But I thought this one was interesting. Roughly about 70% of people believe that screen time affects mental health negatively, with only around 10% believing that it has a positive. So the other 20 exists in the space of, I don't really think it matters. Um, interesting kind of stuff. And I think that this was a really interesting question when we set up everything. How much of your waking day are you aware of being on a screen or checking what it is that you're doing? It is so ubiquitous at this point that I don't think about it. I sit down, I sit in front of my computer, I sit there and I do work. I stop doing work, I take a break and I go on my cell
Phone.
phone to answer some emails or whatever.
Right. And then, you take a break and you go watch TV or something.
Hmm.
Or you get in your car and your cars that have screens in there, even not necessarily for you to watch, but you have a screen display for you. You want to play music, you want to do this. There's a text message that coming up, so it is very screens have become intrinsic in our life that I actively don't think I'm on a screen until like I feel like I'm not supposed to be. That's the only time I feel like, oh, I'm like, or if I've gone an accident, let's say my like 10-minute break of like, social media time becomes like a 20-minute break, then I'm like, okay. Like I've overdone it. But no, I was on my iPad watching a lecture. Right now I'm here talking to you. Like, but for some reason I don't count those as screen time. It's only when I'm like doing what I feel I shouldn't be doing that I'm like, ooh, bad. Oh, I'm on a screen. I don't know why that is, but
I well, I think it's the same whether you're on or off a screen, isn't it? If I'm doing things I know I probably shouldn't be doing or that aren't, I don't want to say not being productive, but maybe that aren't being beneficial for my mental well-being, then yeah, I'm going to question some things and I'm going to be like, "Wait a second. Hold on here, buddy. What's going on?" If I lay on the couch all day and just watch TV, I know I have a problem. Even if I don't just watch TV, even if I'm just laying on the couch all day, I know I've got a problem because I'm not built and or made to sit on a couch all day. So that's part of it. We really don't, it's so fully ingrained in our existence and our way of being now, which is amazing because it didn't take long.
yeah,
How long have personal computers been out?
probably 20-ish years.
Roughly 30, 95,
Yeah.
roughly. I'm that's
I was gonna say, but I feel like it would. Yeah, yes, probably you're probably right, 95, but it didn't become mainstream probably until early 2000s was when probably
oh,
every
yeah, yeah, yeah.
automobile
Yeah.
had one.
The iPhone came out in 2007, man.
Wow.
Right. So that's almost 20 years of having a cell phone, but that's how quickly it ingrained into our lives. And so that tells me a couple of things. Number one, there's something that technology does for us that I, and I'm very wary to say, well, it just makes everything easier. Yes, it does. And that's a part of it, but there's more to it. It adds enough value to our lives that within 10, 15 years, it has become a staple in every person's pocket in developed areas, like in US, whatever. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to make those claims, okay? Uh, but so it gets it gets hard and it gets tricky to say, well, is it bad? Is it good? Or is it not? And again, I think, at least in terms of that, what it comes back to is, remember, screens are a tool. They are a tool to be able to get more things taken care of, more things done. And I always want to push that narrative because I think that that is really important to understand, that these things are tools. They are not us. They don't reflect us. They are not tied to our sense of being in any way, shape, or form. They are just tools to be able to help us, ideally, help us get to a better way of being. And that hasn't really, I would definitely argue hasn't really happened yet. I do think that where we're heading will, because again, we're living at a time where computers are very early, screens are very early. All of these things are in their infancy. They've only been around for roughly 120, 130, 140 years, something like that. I forget when the Jacquard loom and when they made that. I don't know the date off the top of my head. Um,
Neither.
but it's still new technology, and we're still constantly discovering new ways of using it and new ways of interacting with it, which is what makes it so cool and exciting. Um, and now I want to shift gears just a little bit because I think it's important to hit that ubiquity, but I also want to get back to what we were talking about with behavior patterns, and because I do think that that's really, really important. Um, so I thought this study was really interesting. It showed that unlocking behaviors, okay? So how often, when you pick up your phone, things like that, can predict mental health outcomes for college students.
Hmm.
That's crazy as shit.
That is insane.
It makes complete sense when you think about it. But at the same time, I, the fact that they know that is wild, because all you're talking about doing is picking your phone out of your pocket or wherever it is and going whoop, oh, and checking. Everything that you do, from the pickup to the unlock to what goes on after that unlock, can then be used to predict mental health outcomes.
Yeah. That's
Unsettling.
yeah. Because I'm like, oof, I don't even want to think about it. It's already happening, but it's not, I cannot not
Yeah.
think about it. But like, you know what I mean?
Well, to me, that puts everything that we were talking about before, like the past couple of weeks, in an even stronger context, because what you're talking about doing when you're like talking to AI chatbots or when you're creating digital twins of your mental health state, they're not even guessing anymore. You're just flat out giving them, and you're giving them more data and more intimate data. And then what can you do with more intimate data?
Mm.
Again, like I said, it makes sense. If I'm constantly pulling out my phone, looking at it just to be like, whatever, chances are I am slightly more mentally unstable than the next guy. And I don't say that in a bad way, but I say that in like, if I'm younger, I don't give two farquads about it now. But when I was younger, especially, I would text people just to be like, "Hey, do you want to go do something?" And still had the emotional regulation of a child, because that's just where I was at that point in time in life. And then would be checking the phone to be like, "Well, did they respond yet? Did they respond yet? Did they respond yet?" And it's that's not a cool place to be. And I don't even know that I was consciously aware of, well, did they text back yet? Did they do it? Did they do it? Did they do it? Did they do it? But I was aware of the fact that I was looking at my phone all the
Yeah.
time. And so it's interesting. This study was kind of crazy. Addictive screen use patterns doubled the risk of suicidal behavior.
Shit, man.
But that makes, to me, that makes perfect sense. I'm not saying it's right, but typically, if we're doing something addicting, that's hijacking your prefrontal cortex and not worried about any of it. We're not thinking about it. We're distracting ourselves with some sort of whatever that's going on. And so if I'm constantly distracting myself and I'm never dealing with the things that are happening and just trying to avoid that suffering, I guess, that we all experience. I mean, suffering is a part of life. It's not nobody gets out of this life unscathed. And so dealing with the suffering is a big part of what we have to do for life. And so if you're constantly avoiding that, it makes, to me, that makes a lot of sense that it would be higher. And so that's kind of an interesting question. Is it the time you spend or the pattern that matters more? And that's, I don't know. That one gets me because I have to think about that. I don't know that there's I think you just something that would have to be looked at and studied. I lean towards the pattern because even if you're not using there's it's not like screen time has the monopoly on mental health problems.
Yes.
They come without a screen as well. And so really that those patterns are much more important to pay attention to see how we use the phone. It's it really is hard. I'm hopeful because of the things that are coming out in terms of redefining our relationship with technology and our relationship with cell phones. Many right now are pretty convinced that our next device is not going to be a phone. Maybe, maybe not. Nobody's come up with anything that great yet. So we're still searching,
So it's
you know? But those behavior patterns they're really interesting. Okay. That is a fascinating statistic as well. Cutting screen time to under 2 hours a day for 3 weeks resulted in improvements in depressive symptoms, sleep quality, stress, and well-being. Wow. I don't even think it's possible for me to not be on a screen
no,
for that long these days.
no, it's just it's not impossible. It's just I'm trying to phrase this. It's
Mhm.
not impossible. It's just that, the free time that I do get throughout the day basically have to be away from a screen, which is highly is impossible because, like all the stuff that I do is online, but then my other life, like the other life that I have to live, I do need because
Right.
just think about it. I live in a different state from like most of my friends and most of my family. In order to communicate with them, I ain't writing you letters. This in the 1800s. Like, he's in carrying pigeons, pigeons all over
Right.
the U.S.
Right. It's a big deal. I usually have two books going at minimum at the same time. I have one on my computer and then I have one that I'm reading in physical copy. And I can't be like, oh, well, I'm not reading computer today. Sorry. I obviously I could, but I'm not going to, because those are my textbooks and things like that that I'm consuming to understand more. And the last book I read on my computer was amazing, and I sat there and consumed it voraciously. So I'm not necessarily going to do that. I do try to get away and listen to as much music as possible, as opposed to social media and things like that. But even then, I think it still counts my screen time, because
That's what I
some
was
of the
gonna say. Even then, like what do you play? Like unless you got like a CD or something, you are playing it
Mhm.
on a computer, an
Yeah.
iPad, your TV, your phone. Like the only way for it not to be part of your screen time is literally a boombox or some kind of cassette or DVD type of thing.
Well, I'll take it one step further too. A lot of the things I listen to are DJ mixes on YouTube. And so YouTube Music doesn't always have it, because they're like, oh, this dropped a day and a half ago and it hasn't migrated yet, or it won't. One of the two, I don't know the details of YouTube Music and how that works, but I can't actually turn the screen off. I have to leave it open in my pocket while I'm walking around the neighborhood listening to this. So it is literally counting towards my screen time. That's I guess it's really it is so interesting and fascinating how we do rely on these devices. I'm going to tell you, I couldn't get around anywhere without it. I know when I went to Portugal last year, I stayed on it because I was like, please give me walking directions. Because if I looked them up or I didn't use the right app, I couldn't get around that city. There's no street signs. But they're not like not like American street signs that are, very clearly labeled. Like a lot of the time, it's like posted on the side of a building on, and the colors very close. It was hard without that screen. What are we really to do? And I do think that there are really, really cool things happening in technology right now that'll take us away from a screen. That's my hope. But no, a big part of it is cost. I'm not spending $2,000 for a pair of glasses. It's not happening. I don't care how cool they are. They are cool.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not, but again, $2,000, like yeah.
It better be able to do everything that I do on my computer, and the reality is that it doesn't.
And see,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the things. It's like, do I really want to pay 2,000 for? And the thing is, for something that may not be the best that it is yet, because if it's the like, you buy these glasses, what we see in the sci-fi movie, you're gonna be moving through the world, you're gonna be able to do this, point your finger, boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
Then that's worth it. But if I'm going by the glasses, it's gonna be able to record. It might tell me directions. I'm like,
So you're thinking about like the Meta glasses.
I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I already
No,
got
I
it.
don't.
I already got it. Like, I already have a system that does that pretty efficiently. My phone and my brain. I don't need the glasses to do that.
Yeah, think about it that way. Those glasses are almost $1,000 and they do next to nothing. I was cool. I got to use the Microsoft AR glasses when I was in grad school. And it was a lot about what you were talking about. All I did was I played a game. I was only for a few minutes, but it would scan my surroundings. And then these mechanical bugs, almost like Terminator, would literally the holes would open up on the wall and they'd be crawling out, and you went, "Ding," and it shot a little laser and killed them. It was so cool. That interaction was so awesome, and I think has real promise to be able to get us away from those screens. But the technology just isn't there yet. Again, it's slow. It's not even just technology. You're talking about changing entire frameworks about how we think about technology, and that's important, but it's not easy to uproot everybody's frameworks of how they've interacted with computing. Again, as we started off earlier, computing, personal computing didn't really take off until about 30 years ago. Getting large swaths of people to adopt new frameworks is not an easy task. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time and slow implementation. And I think that we will slowly get there. But then it's just going to lead to different problems. We're going to have new ones, new challenges to be solved, new mental health crisis. For everything that we fix, something new is going to happen. And it may not be as severe, which would be absolutely awesome. But it really is. It's going to be kind of interesting. I did want to highlight this research that the ownership of smartphone is not linked to poor mental health. So just having it does not guarantee. So it kind of answers that question that we were talking about before of like behaviors, context, those things matter more in terms of how we use the tool. And I wanted to highlight that, but I really do want to kind of stick on this kind of more emerging technology kind of side of things, because I do think that those have a lot of opportunities for us to be able to address a lot of the mental health challenges that we have. What does it look like when the screen is the world around you? Does that change things in terms of mental health? I mean, you're still running into problems with attention.
Yeah.
Because if I have this really cool digital pixelated thing in my field of view, or something else that's not digital and pixelated, which one am I going to pay attention to?
The non-pixelated one.
The what?
The
You say the
non
non-pixelated one? Nah, bro, you tripping. Uh-uh. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
I'm just speaking for myself.
I'm calling
Oh,
full
oh,
Kaiser.
ooh,
Do you know
you
why?
trying to fuck me this morning.
Yeah, I am. We gonna go down. uh, the pixelated image is gonna hijack your attention. Guaranteed. That's on the neuromechanics now, but I guarantee you that one is going to pull. It's the same general idea of fear in the news. I know that if I dominate the news with fear, people are going to pay more attention. If I dominate your cognitive field with interesting digital images, your dopamine system is going to be going crazy for that shit because it's novel, it's new. We've never seen that before. That is the only reason why I disagree with you on that one.
I see your point and it's a valid point. Maybe at first, my personally, my attention would go to the non-pixelated one and then because knowing myself, I probably what's this? Gotta figure out what's going on. No, you are 100% in that. I think I was just if I was presented the two things, I'll think just personally, I'll go to that first and then that and in wider context, yes, maybe I will spend more time looking at the pixelated image and seeing what's going on and trying to figure out if it's blurry, if it's whatever's going on with it, and try to understand that. That I do, yes, I do 112% agree with that.
And so even just when you say that, I started thinking about the mixing of the two. So then I've got a completely digital image But I have natural images. I've got trees, I've got whatever else is going on around me at that given moment in time. But then on top of that, and this is the big on top of that, I can add digital overlays on top of natural things. And so then so let's just make this one and make this very clear. I know what your mental health is going to be like based off of the behavior patterns of you picking up and unlocking your phone. Okay? That's one. If I can do that, then I can very easily dictate where I want your attention to go in a space that is occupied in in your real world with digital overlays. And this is why I say data practices are going to be real big. This is why I say we have to be very careful about the tools that we choose to use, because as we've seen with some social media sites and some other things, these things can be used in more nefarious ways. It is much more imperative to be paying attention to those kinds of things when I can guide your attention wherever I want.
Agreed.
And most likely, what's even more interesting, AI is going to be doing it. Make that have more fun. They're going to be creating personalized content in real time for you, which is great for mental wellness. Huh?
I don't want it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You can live whatever life you want to live. Anything. Anything. I can go be Harry Potter, okay, bro? And not just be, but I can live that life. This is the entire premise of video games, is it not?
Yes.
We create characters. One of the biggest things is having agency in video games and being able to create those characters and have that autonomy to be able to display our digital identities. And so if I can create the life that I am living in that sense,
No bueno. Not
yes, of
bueno.
course. Yes. Why not? You wouldn't have to. The days of like working a shitty job because you don't like it are gone.
None.
Gone. Because you can do whatever it is that you want to do on any given day
I mean,
and get paid for it.
you didn't bring that part up first.
Well, yeah, sorry, my fault. I meant to say and get paid for it.
Okay.
You could, with the way that technologies are kind of heading and where we are, I'm just going to use the Harry Potter example because it's super easy, at least for me, because I read all those books at such an early age. Okay, so you leave the house and you have some sort of quest to do, whatever that is, whether that's going out and finding what are they called, dementors, or some mythical creature, or whatever your job would be in a normal Harry Potter situation.
Mm.
And then for completing those quests, you then can get monetary reward for it. It's not a maybe. This is something that we could do right now. It wouldn't be a seamless and great user experience, but the technology is there to be able to do it. We have digital currency, which means people could get paid in digital currencies. Every time you do something, bam, here's 0.003 Bitcoin. Bam. Or it could be a different one that's based off of price of Bitcoin, whatever. But it's a really big deal in terms of how do you want to live your life? And then we redefine space at that point. Not space, but we redefine spaces. We redefine what we kind of shift from all of our space being solely focused on consumerism to switching to spaces that are based off of experiences and living. And I think we're seeing that at least a little bit already. I don't know. Have you ever been to any of like the newer immersive experiences that are popping up all over the place?
No.
There's a few of them around in DC. There's a really cool one up in New York called Mercer Labs. There's Art Tech House, things like that I know is, I want to say they have one in Miami too, but they all kind of started out of, or the big one is out of Japan with Team Labs. And they started doing this stuff a long time ago. These like full-blown immersive installations that you walk inside. They're guided by sensors and screens and all that stuff. But we are building out those spaces, and even the spaces that are getting designed have more of like a living, I guess we'll say, interaction behind them. You have park benches, you've got everything else. And so this is why, those are the reasons why I'm a little bit more hopeful as to what is going to be coming down. I think we're in this really weird time just in history right now that people are going to kind of look back on and be like, this wasn't such a great time. But what comes after is going to be pretty cool. This is just my humble opinion. I do not have access to all the knowledge in the land, but from what I've gathered, it does seem to be where we're heading a little bit more. And, who knows? But again, I'm going to come back to it. Paying attention to how, maybe not even just how well, yeah. I think ultimately, so if we think about actionable insights, or what does all of this mean? What does it matter? Again, it comes and boils down to awareness and making, I don't want to say ethical decisions, because that's a fine line that we could debate for hours and hours on end. But having the awareness to be able to use the tools with which we have been given in a manner that is conducive for our mental and physical well-being are going to be huge. I think we've come to that point where we understand that the way that we use technology is not always super great for our physiological well-being. And so we're already starting to rethink how we do that and revamp those things. I mean, shit, we have standing desks now with little mini treadmills that you can walk. That's a big change. And so I think that provided those changes kind of keep happening, and provided that awareness grows, and that we make those conscious decisions to engage in technology, let me rephrase that, engage with these tools in a positive, healthy, conscious manner, I think we'll be okay. And I think that everything can shift as you approach it like that,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than
I was gonna say, I think the keyword is user empowerment, making sure the users are aware of what it is and giving them access to that data as well, so they can make the choices they want to make with that information. Because if with health data, for example, you make those you are give the providers give you the data and and then you make the decision whether you want to get the procedure, whether you don't want to get it. That ultimately it is in your hand, and I think we technology should move in that way, where you are given access to that information and you use it how you deem fit, whether for good or bad. Ultimately, that is a choice for you to make. You don't want others making choices on your behalf for you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Carlos and I greatly appreciate it. Comment something that resonated with you today. We are here for support, feedback, or anything else that you want to share. Join us on the Kindred app, a perfect space to keep unpacking what came up during the episode. Get live, peer-to-peer support from people with shared experiences. Kindred is built for those moments that no one else sees.
Take this one step deeper by reviewing today's reflection prompt in the show notes. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tune in next week for a new episode. Until next time, choose joy.